there, everybody. We are back live. How's
Looking a little different over there, Mark.
We got Penguin here.
Vote Cobblepot.
Cobblepot for mayor.
Cobblepot president 2020. I ain't going mayor no more. I can't keep the monocle in. That's going to last a minute.
There's going to be a lot of write-ins.
Bah.
Oh, you lost it.
Oh, it's done again. It's been on 30 minutes. I've been ready. And as soon as we go live, whoop, there it goes.
How was y'all's week?
Fantastic. It was good to be back in a comic shop for the first time in a while. I went to Pinellas Park's own Emerald City Comics and was able to get the new issue of the Goons. I was very happy. So
I'm waiting for the new Power Rangers to come out.
Oh, yeah, that's the Dark Rangers or something?
There's that, but no, there's the last episode for Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah, that's big.
But they do have Dark Rangers. They actually have a new one coming out in November, December-ish for the fan film. Jason David Frank just got crowdfunded officially yesterday. It got approved and made enough money. So he got full everything. It's going to be a fan film with 5 comics, I think they said.
Very nice.
That's going to get released right around when the movie comes out.
Very cool. I'm losing my umbrella.
You're excited for that.
So.
I am.
Good.
I put money into that one. My second official time using Kickstarter.
Oh, Spalm's first time.
Yes.
Interesting.
So how was your week?
I went swimming in my kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
I heard having some water issues in the kitchen area. Not in the appropriate places, so that's been fun.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have little floaties on while you're in there?
Well, when we walked in, because I have like hardwood floors, well, fake hardwood floors, not that fancy, we're like, oh, these floors are like squishing, and there's like water underneath them all. We got to like take them all out. Yeah, that was an adventure, but we're figuring out. We got some plumbers coming tomorrow, and probably the next day, and the next day. So I have a lot of time to read, let's say, because I've been very stressed out.
So you should have some comics to read
Yes,
then.
I do, for sure.
I didn't get to read any. I haven't been to the shop. I was gone out of town for a while. We went up to Georgia, Tennessee for, Thursday till Monday?
Those breathtaking views must have been just terrifying.
It was amazing.
I saw some of those posts, and I was like, I didn't be there.
I can't wait to finish getting all the photos edited so I can pick out which ones will be good for prints.
We'll be taking our mountain trip later this year, so we're all excited about
it was a fun trip. It was fun seeing Mama Tech getting scared when we were going up the mountains because all you could see, there were no guardrails, just a big drop right next to us. It's like,
in that big
no, thank you.
RV, or?
No, we didn't. We rented a car, a minivan while we were up there to drive around. Left the RV at the trailer, the campgrounds. But yeah, it's been a great week. So cosplays, if you want to be a guest for our cosplay segment, email us at home@comicbook101tv and info@comicbook101tv. Let me put my laptop here so I'm not looking to the side. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at comicbook101tv as well. And let's start with our show supporters. We got the Pop Shop across the hall, Jeff and Holly Collectibles. Great people over there. A lot of awesome pops. I keep spending money in there when I shouldn't.
When are they officially open? Do we have a date yet?
I don't know.
Not yet. It's coming soon.
I'm going to have to talk
but you can message them on their Facebook.
They said, I'm pretty sure if you need something, you can swing by right now and grab it. There's some stuff I want to go get right now. Yancey Street Comics, right up the road from us, they're open now, getting comics in and everything. And also, my friend Moshi, the shop he works at in Orlando, Coliseum of Comics.
We love Coliseum.
And they asked us to do a show, hopefully, sometime up there.
We can arrange that.
So that would be fun, do a little travel and record a show over there.
We could do that, definitely.
And, of course, the most important here,
Erie, Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, we are here. We've been, we're actually going to be on Into the Fray podcast tonight, 9 p.m. Pacific time. So it's a little late for us here. So we got a few hours yet. But we broke a big thing for our next book, Erie, Appalachia. And we discuss a couple ties and break some news that might be good for conspiracy theory fans and cryptid fans, so that'll be big news tonight in that circle. So watch for that, Into the Fray Radio. But if you want to find any of our stuff, ErieFlorida.com.
And we're going to film, what, next week, I think?
This weekend and definitely next weekend.
Definitely
And this
next
weekend we
weekend.
might squeeze in something because the launch
Yeah.
got delayed. So we thought we weren't going to get a shot to shoot that. Now we possibly can. The Pier's opening this weekend downtown St. Pete.
I can't wait for that.
So we got a couple things, on the table depending on the weather. We
I got to
might
go
one
pick
way
up
or the
more
other.
memory cards in for my camera for all this.
Oh yeah, we definitely got. And then if worst case scenario, if both those get canceled, there's some cemeteries nearby that we've been.
I'm always down for
eyeballing, so.
cemeteries. I got some awesome photos of one last week, so definitely
Awesome
need more.
sauce.
But Mark, why are you dressed up as someone different today?
Well, last week we did the bat, and
A staple.
but we didn't really go into too much more than just Batman and some art, some classic Batman stories. They all involve Batman villains. We kind of left them on the table, and we got some emails and some comments that, hey, what about this guy? What about that guy? So, we're back. And we decided to go all rogues gallery and do some Batman this week.
Which is funny, when I got home last night, John's like, are y'all doing Batman again? I'm like, no, it's the villains.
It's the
He's
villains.
like, oh, okay.
Rogues gallery.
I'm like,
Well, the
can't-
villains are just as important, I feel like, as the staples of DC. I mean, everyone knows Batman, Superman, The
you
Flash.
can't have Batman without those villains.
Exactly. All the great storylines, there's a integral villain, a part of it. I don't think there's any Batman story that doesn't involve like the staple aspect of him fighting against one of his greatest foes. And let's just be honest, they're all pretty much his greatest foes. I mean, you
Yeah.
have Bane that breaks his back, you have Joker that's, constantly all up in his face and things like that.
Who's
so.
your favorite villain?
That's hard. I think for Batman it's definitely the Joker, because maybe for a little bit of a different reason that most people would think. I don't like the dynamic between Joker and Harley. I do not romanticize that relationship. It is very toxic. What I appreciate about that relationship and then the relationship that he actually has with Batman is that the Joker evolves from, in his earlier comics, he's like, I'm doing it for the creepy laughs and smiles. It's all a joke to me. And as it evolves with Batman, he's like, which we'll talk about this, it's one of the stories I want to talk about, Death of the Family. He evolves into, no, like, Gotham runs because of you and I. I no longer, yes, I want to do the laughs, but I want to do the laughs for you. You have to get the joke. I don't care if they get the joke anymore. And so that's why I really like Joker, because they took him from a comical villain who does really horrible things. Let's not forget that, but they make him more into a dynamic, serious character. So
What about for you?
Well, no, it's not the Penguin. I love the Penguin. I think he's great. I have a tough time because they are iconic. Because, in movies before Batman, pretty much even Superman, early comics, and all the early heroes, all they did was fight guys in suits. Right? It was good as a guy in a suit. He's mobsters and gangsters. And then, you realize Batman is the guy in the suit. And then he's also the creepy guy. And then it was either that or guys in creepy and black costumes and, jumping into the darkness and coming out of the darkness. That was, the Shadow had a lot of those villains. And, Batman stole enough from that. But then, they realize, we're outclassed. This guy's already got us. He's the guy in the suit, and he's the guy in the black. So we have to come up with these crazy villains. So I would say my favorite is probably Riddler, just because I identify with the nerd gone bad so much. But for the grace of God go I. There have been times where I could have snapped and I would totally leave puns and riddles behind.
And he is actually intelligent.
To gloat, to gloat to the sucker. Like, you can't solve this. I am so much smarter than you. But knowing that but I really want to get caught. That's the whole point. So
I think mine would probably be Mr. Freeze. Because he wasn't going to be a villain. It all involved because of his wife.
Right.
So.
Well, there's two different theories on that. Yes, the beginning they had it where it was his wife, but then they did change the origin where it's not actually. They changed it where it's, you don't believe in that one? No problem.
Nope, that's not my origin.
No reboots. We don't talk reboots.
But that's
not my origin.
But that's a lot with all these villains too, because even with the Joker, you have the Killing Joke, and that's like the official origin. But then you also had a bunch of other things that people don't. I mean, there's a lot of people I know that don't consider that to be the origin. I mean, the Joker is an enigma. He can be. Enigma. He can be born because of anything, and that's another reason why I like him too, because kind of what you're saying. The Joker is not like a superhuman person. He's just a
Normal.
mentally ill,
Yeah.
crazy man, Just like the Riddler is a smart guy that got pushed too far. And even Mr. Freeze, like you're saying, he's a brilliant scientist that just had extreme heartbreak. So mirroring the Bat himself, which I think that's what you see a lot with Batman. All of his villains mirror the problems that he has, the deep, dark secret that he can never get over. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, that was the writer in me coming out.
Fantastic. All good.
So before we start with the Batman comics, let's go ahead and do our special segment, Cosplayer of the Week.
Yeah. Do we have? Oh, hey, there they are.
So no intro, we'll just go off with
That's
that.
fine.
Straight
That's
off
all
the
good.
back.
We're still working that out. It's more of like a group this time. I mean, we have
we're
individuals.
going with Gotham Underground. They are an amazing little cosplay group out of Central Florida. Heidi and Joseph were the two contacts I had, the Variks, and they answered our questions for this week. So the first one was, what got you into cosplaying? And they actually literally got married as Joker and Harley at Darkside Comics a number of years ago. And
Up
why
in
did they
Sarasota.
like to do cosplay? Is they like to entertain and see the smiling faces of the kids and others. Their favorites, of course, are Penguin. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Every time I see him, he's always Penguin.
He does a lot of Penguin
does a
because he
lot.
is perfect. And he does a perfect Penguin. He's the reason why I normally retire my Penguin is because he's down, man. He's got it down. And then Heidi, his wife, also does Lark, and you can see her there next to Joe there as Penguin's #1 bodyguard from the animated series, which and the comics later on. Lark became part of. So that's them at Sci-Fi Bartow. They were amazing there.
Yeah, we've interviewed him a few times.
And future things they want to do, they want to be Emperor Penguin. He's also, Joe's looking into doing Hades and possibly even 66 villain, one of my favorites, King Tut.
See, you
I'd
brought
like
your
to
pop
see
of
that.
that.
And
That would
there's a
be
King Tut
a King
pop
Tut
there.
cosplay would be
Yeah.
fantastic, and he could pull it off. There's all the members of Gotham Underground. Look them up. They do all kinds of stuff for charity. They are an amazing group. We love them dearly, and we're very happy to have them as the cosplayers of the week.
Yeah, they got a lot of amazing cosplayers. Brian
Oh yeah,
Brian is awesome.
Brian's great. They do. They got a Bane. They got a Scarecrow.
Yeah, I think they have
got a
one of each
Riddler, they
villain
got-
at this
They
point,
got everybody.
almost.
Catwoman's and all the other stuff. So
Poison Ivy, yeah.
yeah, they're fantastic. Definitely reach out to them.
So let's start with our first key issue, Batman Long Halloween. In
That-
96 and 97, that issues were done.
That definitely was an amazing run. Was a monthly run. There's our Rogues Gallery. It tried to bring in a little bit of everybody in that one. That's why I liked it so much. It's basically the introduction of Two-Face retold again.
I was going to say, is this like an introduction? Because I'm not familiar with this one. So is this like an introduction to the villains? I mean, we already saw the villains, but this is like the first
Yeah.
time they're all in one place.
It's not really, it's just that's happened before.
Is it
these
kind of
things
like an
got-
Elseworlds
this is
thing?
This is just a really good retelling of how, basically Harvey Dent, James Gordon, and they're there's a person called Holiday, and basically every month he kills somebody.
The Calendar Man.
Yeah, it's the Calendar Man, and
Spoiler
before
alert.
anything, and they're trying to figure out who it is, and it brings in every villain. Of course, Halloween has Scarecrow, and Ivy is in there for I think it was Arbor Day or something.
Yeah.
It was all these. So the villains were all trying to figure out who the heck this guy is too, and who's this Holiday person, and then it's basically there's whole bits with when they finally catch him, Harvey Dent is the prosecutor at this point still, and he's trying to catch the guy, and then that's when he gets the acid in the face is in this, and it's the origin of Two-Face. Now, Two-Face had been around before this. This was just retelling.
A retelling of
It's
it.
Well,
just
it
another
says that
retelling.
it says in our little notes, like it's not actually Calendar Man, but Calendar Man knows who it is.
Yes, Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's reintroducing Calendar Man, probably makes you think that it's him.
Yeah, exactly. And this was kind of reinvention of him as
And
well.
what's good about this is the Batman video games that we saw, the Arkham Asylum and everything.
Yeah.
There was the one that Calendar Man was in, and
Yeah, it
you
came
had
from this version.
Yeah, it came from this because you had to talk to him, and every day you talked to him, depending what day it was, he would tell you something different.
Yeah, because
so you kind of had to
Well, that was an
time skip.
achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
originally Calendar Man was just this joke character. He wore a suit with calendar dates on him, and he would always punch for Boxing Day, which has nothing to do with boxing. And
Yeah.
stuff like, he was a joke villain from the 60s, and then this reintroduces him as something kind of cool. Gives him a kind of a Clock King kind of vibe to
I love
it.
Clock King.
So next one we have is Batman Hush, another one I know you like a lot.
Hush was another one of those. There's a mysterious killer going through Gotham, and he's basically sabotaging everything Batman does, and Batman can't stop him. And it's like, how does this guy know? And so he basically, again, they go through the whole rogues gallery because he's stopping all the villains too. They can't figure it out. Who is this Hush guy? And there's rumors and all that, and most people know this story because it was kind of retconned in Rebirth and New 52 that Hush was Jason Todd and the Lost Batman, and he had been. But this comic wasn't that. It was this old.
This is the original.
This was a Bruce Wayne's childhood friend that we'd met a little bit before this, but not a lot. He was kind of a forgotten character from the 60s, and then they brought him back and made him the bad guy. But the reason I love this story so much is it focuses on the other villains so much, trying to figure out what's going on, because Batman's not their only thorn in their side.
And it focuses, it introduces the idea of Batman and Catwoman as well, which we see how that evolves. They did make an animated movie recently with Hush, and they kind of changed it all up, and I personally did not receive it well, and I think a lot of the fans didn't receive it well because it didn't go
Jason
back
Todd
to
fans
these.
loved it because that made him into the new Red Hood and all that.
I mean, love Jason Todd, but it doesn't go back to the roots of what Hush really
now,
is.
because of Hush, this ties in. Have you seen the Batwoman TV show?
I have not yet. It's on the list. So
That's all you.
The last episode, the season finale, since it was cut short, brought in the character of Hush. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
So we see a little spoiler. Bruce Wayne's been gone for a long time. That's why she took over. At the end, Bruce Wayne's back. Or you think it's Bruce Wayne.
That's a new. Okay.
Hush.
So it's quite interesting that she thinks it's actually Bruce. So now Hush actually knows Bruce is Batman as well then.
Okay, well, he kind of did in the comics too.
Yeah.
That's why he was messing with Bruce so much during the. But again, he's his old buddy, and it's like it was obvious to those of us who've ever read or watched Scooby-Doo. The guy who's the nicest is always the bad guy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see they brought a main villain into the TV show.
Yeah, because they've definitely
besides
did
what
that.
they've been doing, it wasn't as good.
Well, like each one of these is like a staple villain story because it mixes it up. I mean, you could just keep doing stories about the Joker, the Penguin, and blah, 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 blah. But that's why we picked these, is because, it changes the rogues gallery for sure. And the next one, a serious house on serious Earth.
Yeah, Arkham Asylum, the place where all the villains go.
Except
Because
Their
for
number
Penguin.
one hangout spot.
Yeah,
Well, Penguin doesn't go to Arkham
sometimes.
but he goes to, doesn't he go to
Blackgate.
Blackgate.
Blackgate's for the criminals.
Yes.
Arkham is for the mentally insane. So that is why so many of his villains go there. And in this comic, this was pretty groundbreaking for its time. It's one of the first graphic novels I remember coming out in hardcover, which was a first back then. And who was it that did it? Was it Ellison? I think no, it was
Morrison, and it was right
Morrison
before he became a regular writer for the
he
series.
does
So
this
that was his debut.
series, and it is the art is insane. It's Batman trapped in Arkham Asylum during a breakout attempt, and it is it's intense. It's but again, we get some one-on-one time with every villain.
Killer Croc, Two-Face, Joker.
Yeah, and they all get to tell their story to Batman. Like they're like telling him, "This
Because
is
they've
why I'm here.
changed.
You've done this to me." And they're under therapy. They're
Yeah, they've
learning.
changed,
And they're doing this. But Joker arranged it so that they'd all get loose while he was there, dropping off another villain. And it's a classic story. They based the video game loosely on it.
Yeah.
But you really got that Batman under siege. He's under his own. He can't he can't deal with it. He doesn't know what to do. He's just trying his best, and it really is. It's brutal. It's a great read, though.
So next one we have, we talked about part of it last week, No Man's Land.
Yeah.
But this also has No Man's Land, Fear of Faith.
Yeah, you can't talk about No Man's Land without, do you smell something? It smells like fear gas.
Yeah, this isn't good.
But anyway, whatever. Maybe
I mean, this is your favorite story, Mark.
Oh,
so-
yeah, sorry, distracted there.
Yeah.
I was a little disoriented.
Yeah.
But no.
Get you back on track.
The No Man's Land, we talk about it because it is so iconic. It breaks Gotham, and then the villains take over, and they are everywhere, and they each have their own little gangs, and each are running their own thing. But a couple of the main ones have these other little stories, and the one that got me was called Fear of Faith, and in that one, Huntress is running around, and this is Bertinelli Huntress, classic Huntress.
Also, Oracle, right? She's involved in this.
Oracle's up in the tower, kind of watching things. And what's happened is what's amazing in this is the city's been destroyed by earthquakes, so everything's destroyed, and this, so this is all going on, and there's a church that has collapsed into a mosque, and a synagogue across the street has collapsed, and these three religions have come together and are sitting in this church, and the ruins of these churches, and they form their own little safe place, right? So, and they're trying to stay safe, but Black Mask, and his mask army, the Maskers, which was probably the worst name out of all the gangs, they're moving in on the territory, and everybody's freaking out about it. And they get there, and who's in the middle of all this? But the Scarecrow. Scarecrow's sitting there, one of the creepiest villains in Marvel history, is sitting in the middle of all these church-going folk. And Huntress is like, "What are you doing?" And starts beating the crap out of Scarecrow. Scarecrow's like, "I've reformed. Stop. I'm just here."
I mean, you say creepy, I say intelligent and wonderful and brilliant and
Yeah, it's
handsome.
so
But I
creepy.
continue.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. There's a lot of people who fall for these guys. I know there's people who like Penguin out there. So anyway, the
Cobblepot for president.
Cobblepot for president. Vote 2020.
Hashtag,
All right. So,
hashtag
but
Cobblepot.
anyway, the foul party. Howard the Duck's going to be my VP.
Nice.
Get down, America.
I'm down for this.
Yes, all
I'm
right.
voting this now.
Yep. All right. So anyway, the church. It's this intense story, and of course, Scarecrow is playing everybody. It's a game. He's smuggling guns from Penguin. Penguin's running the Casablanca. He's the guy who's got all the things. So Penguin needs to move some guns. Scarecrow poisons the church's food with rats, of course. Gets the rats to eat all the food, hoping to bring up the fear, so that they go and are desperate. So they go to Penguin and say, "We need food." Penguin's like, "I'll give you food. That's a gift, but you got to hide these guns for me."
So it's a good business practice.
Scarecrow's
Yeah, I
like,
see.
"We can do that. It'll be safe. It'll be safe. I'll take care of it if anything goes wrong." Huntress has no idea what's going on. But Scarecrow, that's not enough for him. He's got the guns there. So he lets the Bane boys know, or the Black Mask boys know, that the guns are there. He sends a guy out. Says, "Go tell them that we got the guns." That's not enough for him to have a threat. He needs more fear. So he lets the Penguin know that they're going to keep the guns. Then, that's still not enough. That's only two, right? That's only two. So then he tells Two-Face about the guns, who runs another section. And then, for final, Batman comes back and finds out about the guns and all that's going down. So now you've got 5 forces colliding. And the cops, Gordon and the Blue Boys are coming too to protect the guns. So 5 forces are colliding on this sector that's trying to stay neutral, and Scarecrow's just loving it.
He just wants all his friends in one place. It's a party, man. I get it.
I get that. And then I can see your point. But then the whole point is so it's all going to come to a head, and he's trying to convince the church guys to pick up the guns. The only way you're going to survive is to fight your way out. You've got to give in to fear. You've got to give in to your fears. And of course, this one has probably one of the best Batman villains. Why it's one of my favorites. Batman doesn't just punch the guy at the end, right? Batman always wins by punching guys. You know, that's the end of every basic Batman story. Batman punches the guy, he takes him back to Arkham Asylum. Well, Arkham Asylum is gone right now. Nobody knows what's going on with Arkham Asylum. And in this, what happens? They stop him with love. They stop him with love.
Gross.
Huntress gets in there. Not enough crossbow bolts to take out this army. But she gets in there and she's like, yo, you know what? We need to forgive Cobblepot for this. Batman's taking care of all the crap outside. He does all the fighting because he's Batman. But inside, they don't know what to do. So they go and, you know, and they all do their thing. And it's love. You know, Huntress stops him and says, let's forgive him. The church guys are all like, yeah, let's forgive him. It's not his fault. And all that goes on. And, wow, we were dizzy there for a minute.
Love conquers all. What are you talking about? You're fine. Continue your
I
story.
must be seeing things.
I
You're fine.
don't know. It's just weird. Maybe it's the context. It's the eyeball context. I could have sworn you were wearing red for a minute. So.
I mean, I have red on my shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got it. You
Trigger
got
the
it.
light. Trigger the light.
You know, love got the red thing going
That's
on.
it, exactly. But anyway, so I just love that, and then Scarecrow just can't handle it. That he's been beat by love, and he's like, "Come on, punch me, do something." And they're like, "No, we forgive you. We feel sorry for you." And he goes insane, and he's like, and then there's no Arkham for him to go home to. Mm-hmm. So that's driving him even further insane. So he just disappears to the rest of No Man's Land.
Well, that makes sense because like it's following into Death of the Family that I'll talk about next. But like in the New 52, they kind of like redid everyone's origins, like they always did, and a lot of people didn't like New 52. I loved it. I know that's very controversial. You can hate it. That's fine.
Every to each their own. We say that here.
But the Scarecrow's who they focus on first. And you find out that, like, his father was a scientist and abused him. Like, basically was like, oh, I'm going to test this fear, like, on you. So he would, like, lock him in the basement with, like, bats. Oh, that's how people respond to fear. That's how he'd, like, be writing notes and stuff. So it would only make sense that love, as silly as that may sound, would basically be his kryptonite because he doesn't know what that looks like at all.
Well, it was very good. And again, any of the No Man's Land stories are great, but that one was...
They did audiobooks, right?
They did an Audible. It was one of the first Audible full cast.
Do you know who did the voices for that?
It was the usual Audible gang,
Okay.
so it's names that are familiar if you do their series. But
it's narrated by Oracle, I believe.
Which is the way the comics are written for the first few comics. The main line. That was the beauty of it. That was such a crazy crossover. It was like 80 some odd comics if you read all the different tie-ins. And some of the stories are just amazing. But that one stood out for me because it was just such a poor Scarecrow.
So in the chat, Heidi actually said thank you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we love Heidi, yeah.
And she said sorry about the water.
Oh yeah.
for Elizabeth's water, so.
I buy a townhouse, and I think all will be grand, and then water in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. But no, I mean, it's your home. It's a homeowner thing. I understand this. I'm just like...
Could be Hydro Man.
I'm like...
And she said Cobblepot for president.
Cobblepot for president. I would vote for that at that point.
Then Henry goes, do you guys have Instagram? I'm not sure if he's asking if we have it, or if our cosplay guest had it.
Our cosplay guest might have had it. What cosplay guest?
Well, Heidi and...
Oh, yeah, Heidi and Joe.
Gotham
They definitely have
Joe
Instagrams.
Mm-hmm.
We shared them in the links down below.
Erie has one. This show, I think, has one.
Yeah, and Ozzy and Heidi both have Instas. And we'll make sure if they're not there, we'll put them in the comments.
We'll drop them in the chat later.
So I don't know if they got up on the board or not. I can't see with these contacts. I can only see about... These are like 2 years old, so terrible prescription, I know. Sorry. So where are we? We just finished No Man's Land. I think
this one we were going to do last week, but unfortunately you weren't able to make it. So let's talk about something that I know you wanted to.
Oh yeah, I mentioned it before, Death of the Family. And again, it's New 52. But what I really liked
different
about
from Death in the Family.
Yes, it's different than Death in the Family because they did that. And didn't you talk about that?
Yeah, we talked about that last time, which is the death of Jason Todd.
So the difference between this is, I feel like it's, as you're seeing with the scenes, I think it's really important because Joker goes into each one of the Bat family's comics, including Teen Titans, because that's where Robin is, and including Catwoman, because we already have that bridge between Catwoman being in love with Batman, and then we eventually have that horrible wedding, and that's another thing that we'll get into.
We'll do an episode on controversies.
We'll have to do a wedding episode.
We'll just do a controversy episode. That would fit that one better. So.
But, so Death in the Family, Joker goes, basically he has a change of heart. He goes, exactly what I was talking about before, Batman, you and I, we've been doing this whole thing our whole lives, and you're distracted right now with your family, because in the New 52, all the Robins are alive, they're all in contact. I mean, you still have Jason being kind of, like anti-hero a little bit, Red Hoodie, you know what I mean? But you have Oracle, you have Oracle and Batwoman, and Batgirl, which is interesting, because I was like, how did you, and basically Joker's like, I'm going to take you all out, because they are distracting you from me. Like, you no longer seem to care about me. You're sending like Nightwing out to take care of me. Like, that's not what I want. You're sending Robin to like stop me. That's not fair. Like, kind of like in Lego Batman when he's like, I'm your arch nemesis, and he's like, I love no one. Lego Batman, I love that one.
That was actually
this is amazing.
It is an excellent Batman movie.
It is. In that relationship.
One of my favorites from the last year.
I know, right? And their relationship in that is actually the same of like in here. He like wants Batman to be just his. So, long story short, he kidnaps them, essentially all of them. Catwoman, he doesn't. He just like kind of goes and like has a brawl with her and is like, I'm gonna kill your person that you love, and she's like, oh no, Bruce, and like it's one of those moments. But he kidnaps them all, he ties them up, puts them around the table. You saw in the graphics how he had cut his face off, and so he wraps everyone's face in bandages, and Bruce, obviously, as Batman, comes out and he's like, look, I've taken your family from you, and I've done to them what I did to myself. We have to do this in order to evolve and move on with our lives and to be better people. And you're like, man, this is like really great life advice, but at the same time, it's coming from like a psychopath who's like cutting people's faces off.
Yep.
So, of course, Batman goes insane, especially because Damian is, Damian's been introduced at that time, and that is his actual son.
Yeah,
and
Damian's a little jerk.
Yes, he is a little jerk. I mean, he has a bat cow, though. That's like amazing to me. He has all these like bat animals now. He's like the cow and the dog and everything like that. But so Batman goes insane, and he attacks, and they do the whole like struggle, and he's like monologuing the whole time, and Batman's just like, shut up, I'm going to kill you. And it's the first time that Batman, well, maybe not the first time, but it's one of those pivotal moments where Batman is like, I don't care about this oath that I made. There's going to be one more killer in Gotham tonight. And it's going to be me. And so they do the whole like struggle back and forth. And of course, Batman does his classic punch, and Joker falls off. They're in the Batcave at this point. I feel like that's important.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
And he falls off one of the cliffs that's in the Batcave, because it's a cave. I mean, Batman didn't, fix the whole thing.
That's what caused No Man's Land.
And he disappears. And it obviously implies that the Joker is dead. Now, of course, we all know, as DC fans, that this is not something that is ever true, ever.
Yeah.
Because they kill the Joker off many a times. But, he obviously runs back to his family, and he goes to Damian first, and he takes the bandages off, because they've all also been with Joker venom. They've all had Joker venom as well in them, and he takes the bandages off, terrified of what he'll see, and never touched him. Nothing's ever happened. He essentially was pulling a scarecrow, just trying to
see if he could push Batman.
Batman to the limit, and he essentially did. So for me, that's why I love that one, is because you see Batman be really pushed. And it does iterate the fact that Batman is apparently never allowed to be happy. Because and the writers even said that when we talked about the wedding, like he is never allowed to, they let him through New 52 this whole entire time be happy with his family around, and you really see these dynamic stories where he's like letting them do things and stuff like that, and then it's all taken away after this.
That's a lot of writers for comics and even TV shows. I remember that was the rule on the great Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A happy Buffy is a boring Buffy. So that's why they would.
Because if they're happy, they got no story.
Exactly.
I would tend to disagree personally, just because, I think the New 52 stories went fine when he was essentially happy. I mean, he was still doing his thing.
It was definitely some cool stuff, and I think, but that makes the contrast when it does break.
True.
It's awesome. True. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know another one is important to you is Mad Love.
It's not important per se, but I think it's really fun, because going off of the villains, of course, it's like a nice side story that is about, oh, that's a different cover. It focuses on the villains basically being recovered. I mean, the classic story from Mad Love is Joker and Harley. And so when Harley actually one-ups the Joker. The Joker is in a slump. He's trying to do a plot that involves piranhas. He's trying so hard, but he can't figure out how to make them smile, because at this point, all of, his gags still need to involve a smile. So, right. Harley wants his attention. She's dressed up in her negligee. Want to rev your little Harley up? Things like that. And she goes, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll make him happy and I'll go kidnap the Batman myself. He'll love that, right? Wrong. But she succeeds. She kidnaps him. She knocks him. She's like, Batman, I want to turn myself in. And Batman's like, I know this is a trap, but sure, let's go to the dock anyway and see She knocks him out, and he wakes up, and he's suspended upside down, and there's piranhas below him. And she's like, I figured it out. If you turn him upside down, then the piranhas are smiling, Mr. J. And she has, Joker come in, and the whole comic where she's like, Puddin', I love you. And he's like, stop calling me Puddin', and all that kind of stuff. And he loses his mind. He's so angry at the fact that she has betrayed him and taken his joke, and, regardless of it being a present to him. And he pushes her out of the window. It's one of those stories where, again, I do not romanticize the relationship, but it's the beginning of the end for them, because then soon after the New 52 and all of that, this isn't part of the New 52, but like in that thing, she breaks free. Jimmy and Amanda Conant did her things where she breaks up with him. But the really classic scene is, Batman gets loose because of that, because the Joker essentially like lets him down, because he's like, well, this doesn't count. Yeah. It doesn't count. I didn't do it. But they ended up chasing each other, and they're actually on top of a train, which I think is hilarious. And Batman is like, you realize that Harley did what you never have been able to do, which is to capture me. You've never captured me. Do you realize that? And the Joker's already so frustrated because he hasn't been able to think of a plot for a long time. And he's like,
get more upset.
Yes, and he's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. And he's like, she did it, Puddin'.
Oh.
And Joker loses his mind, and Batman does again the classic punch, and there he goes falling off of the train.
Yep.
But what's also good about that, it's a collection of different stories. So going back to Scarecrow, they focus on, a lot of them are rehabilitated. They're out. Scarecrow in his story is actually back teaching at a college. And he befriends a nice, bright-eyed woman student. And they play a little bit of romance, but it's actually more of like she's just so excited about the field and so excited to learn from him. And unfortunately, it goes through the darkness of what college can really be, and she gets assaulted. And she ends up telling him, because, it's her trusted professor, and he loses his mind. And so he kidnaps, again, it's a jock, it's the classic story, kidnaps the jock, makes him go through all the fear gas, basically makes him so crazy, to the point where he loses his mind, and Batman comes to him, and, Scarecrow's screaming, I did the right thing. And Batman goes, actually you did this for a good reason, but it's still illegal, and I still have to take you in. Yeah. You know what I mean? I still have to take you. So, it's a classic story of how these villains cannot just stay out. And I think the most tragic story of them all is the Harvey Dent. And they've mentioned it before. They've done it before, where they fix Harvey's face. And in this one, they make him whole again. They make him completely human, and he falls in love with a beautiful plastic surgeon that fixes his face. And so, they have a relationship, but you find out that she has a twin sister. And her twin sister has a little bit of a,
crazy.
Evil disposition.
Yeah.
She seduces him. They have a one-night stand, and he's like, but then he actually is like, feels very remorseful that he's done this to the woman that he loves. And he's like, we can never see each other again. I know you're her twin sister. We just can't do this. So one day he comes home to his penthouse that they share, and there is just, it's graphic. There's blood all over the panels, all over the walls, and she's written him a note, like, I'll meet you on the dock. It's like the same dock, though, that Harley went to. I think that's kind of interesting.
Always is.
Always is. So Two-Face does what he only knows what he can do. He lights a fire. He actually burns off the portion of his face that his fiancée has fixed, goes to the dock. They have a moment where they're holding each other. She's like, see, I love you for the crazy, messed up person that you are. She wanted to fix you. I don't, blah, 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 blah. And Two-Face is like, you're right. You and I, we're going to be together forever. We are the same. And he shoots her and he kills her.
Yeah.
And he's actually narrating the story, and he goes, because he's telling Batman what happened, and he goes, and then I sat here on the pier, on the dock, and I waited for you to come and take me back to the place that I belong, Arkham. And there's a bunch of other stories like that. It's a really neat collection, and I think it's important because it's also a staple in retelling these. I felt pity for Two-Face.
You see the human side of him.
Exactly. I felt pity for Harley. I mean, I've always felt pity for Harley. I felt pity for Scarecrow and the other ones in there, because you're like, yeah, I kind of would, hurt that guy too. You know what I mean? Or a lot of people would. So it's another kind of interesting take that they did on the villain. So that's why I like it.
And they kind of did that in like the Joker movie too. The newest Joker movie, you kind of feel pity because you see the back history of him and everything. So you kind of feel bad. Oh, you were picked on. You. This is what made you go crazy.
Exactly. And I think that's actually. I think they did. I know it got controversy, but they have a good point. If you push, not that it takes it doesn't take the responsibility away from the person. I want to be very clear. But if society or people push someone so far, it's like, can you really put blame?
It's
that controversial.
Since
exactly
the beginning of time, we've always thought this too. I mean, that's what the philosophers discussed back in ancient Greece and stuff like that. It's the same old story. So.
Exactly.
So the next one we have was published as a one-shot in 1961. They started doing now, Mom. Secret Origins.
Secret Origins, to give everybody the classic origins.
You had the Secret Origins for the superheroes.
Yeah.
Then you also had the villain ones, too.
Yeah.
Origins, super villains.
And the one on screen here is the one I love, because it was a amazing special where they basically, Neil Gaiman and a couple other authors, there's a television crew, and they're trying to get the real story on some of Batman's villains. So they're of course they want the Joker. They can't find him, but they go and they get Two-Face in a classic interview, and they get they get to tell the Penguin gets to tell his tale. It's kind of the one they adapt for the movie. For Dark Knight Returns.
And then your favorite.
And then my favorite is the Riddler. Now the beauty of this, and this is written by Neil Gaiman, and it's just the news crew goes in, and it's the place where all the props from all the crazy crimes have been stored in this like impound lot, and that's where Riddler's set up. So he's on the giant typewriter. He's on the classic Bill Finger written props and all that, and he's freaking out.
He's doing his brilliance. He's brilliant.
He's freaking out because he's talking like, hey, there was, back in the day we had these little gangs, we hung out, and it's like. I had, Riddler, of course, had his gang, Mark, and Mark, which was great.
I thought it was
I don't know why I love that.
I thought it was a clever pun. I mean,
Yeah, well, the Carnival Marks, I love it. King Tut, and had his gang, and and Bookworm, one other great classic villain that nobody remembers. And Lego Batman made fun of all of them, which was great. Hundreds of them, and he's like lamenting. He's missing the good old days. He's like, the Joker's killing people now. We never killed anybody.
Yeah, he's like, we never did that.
What memo did I miss? Why is this? And the TV gang's like trying to figure this all out. Going, what's going on? And they finally go to, as they're walking out, they're like, man, he seemed kind of normal. He seemed like a nice guy. And he's like, I don't know, get that guy a TV show, because he would be a great game show host or something.
I agree.
Yeah, they were like, we got some great shots from in there. And then they're like, yeah, it's just a shame we never got the big guy, the big fish. And then one of them's like, yeah, that's just too bad. And then they all start laughing, and they just all keep laughing. And then you see the trench-coated hat, walking by, the purple trench coat and the hat, and they just keep laughing, and then they all die. So it never aired, is the story. So, but it's a classic. Secret Origins, definitely pick that up if you can, that one shot. It's been recollected recently.
Yeah. So I have a question. What's your favorite riddle that Riddler did?
Oh, gosh. I have to go back to 60s Batman. I love that I'll be honest, it's not a riddle. It's just a story.
Riddle me this. Go.
It's the story I heard. Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler, got so into character.
Yeah, I remember this one.
The Batmobile pulls up, and he's supposed to steal it for a scene. And he gets in it, and he's doing his he'll laugh. He gets in it, he steals the Batmobile, and then he steels the Batmobile. He drives it off the lot. He drives off into the Hollywood Hills laughing.
They're like calling him, and he's like...
They're like, bring it. There's no car phones back then and all that. Even
Well, I
though
mean, like,
there
they're screaming
was
at
one
him.
in the Batmobile, but they're like screaming at him, and he's just driving off, laughing hysterically. He didn't come back for a day, and it was the last shot of the day, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But it got him in some trouble, and that's why suddenly in season 2, there's another Riddler for one episode, the great John Astin. But poor John Astin's wearing Frank Gorshin's costume, and they are not the same size.
Oh.
It's a one suit
Yeah.
jumpsuit. So poor John Astin, Gomez Adams from the classic. So he gets some razz for not being the real Riddler, but I think he did fine. There's an adult story where Adam West and Gorshin went to an adult party, a swingers party, and
they
stayed in character.
Oh,
So
my
until they got
Lord.
kicked out, because Batman's going, I don't think this is proper, and Riddler's like, riddle me this. What has 2 heads and 2? Oh wait.
Well, I really like Riddler in the new Harley show, actually. I mean,
He's been
Yeah.
fantastic.
I love the new Harley show in general because it has like all these characters, and you're like I am Poison Ivy in that character.
Yeah.
Like in that show, like
Yeah.
she is I'm like, oh, that's me in real life. Cool.
And you just got engaged too. So
I know.
Is he Kite Man?
No,
Heck yeah.
no. It's not Kite Man. She doesn't stay with Kite Man. That's the thing.
Well,
though.
she is right now. They're still engaged.
No, but they did the scene and then the
There was
Harley
a scene,
and
and
the.
now they've moved on.
They're happy.
I haven't
It's a
seen that yet.
cliffhanger
Now
now.
my whole.
You're an
Now I was
episode
like,
behind
I was
now.
so excited, and then I was
Spoilers.
like, best of
You're
all
an
the
episode behind.
worlds.
Are you
yeah.
watching it on Sci-Fi or DC channel?
I had access to the DC app, and now I no longer have access to the DC
Oh, yeah,
app. So
'cause
someone
you-
wants to
'cause you got
share
flooded.
their
Because you got flooded.
absolutely.
It was a ploy.
But I like him because like Ivy does like this whole thing to like convince Harley in the very beginning to like break up with the Joker, and he like sets up like this whole like enigma thing, and they drop her in a bat of acid, and it's margarita mix.
Yes, that was.
Yeah.
That was
And the Riddler
definitely
the whole time is like, wait, so this like wasn't real? Like we weren't actually gonna kidnap the Batman?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like Ivy's like, no, and
Yeah.
he's like, oh, okay, whatever.
And then he's out. I'm
He's
out.
like, well, I paid you back for saving my life. Have a
And
good
he had
life.
Riddle
Like,
University, which
Yeah.
was pretty good in an episode. So yeah. Anyway.
So the last comic actually we have is Tales of a Demon.
Ah.
Tales
Yeah.
of the Demon, yeah, which has Tales, the son of the demon, and another
Ra's
one, I believe.
Al Ghul, one of my
Yes,
favorite.
that's where we actually get to meet
freaking
him.
villains.
There's
Yeah.
Daughter of the Demon as well.
Yep, and Son of the Demon and all that. Yeah, it's Ra's al Ghul is basically the Moriarty. Everybody always talks about Sherlock Holmes having Moriarty.
Yeah.
And Batman has the Joker, but he doesn't have a Moriarty until
Yeah.
Neil Adams helps create Ra's al Ghul, and the leader of the League of Shadows, League of Assassins. He's immortal basically as long as he goes to a Lazarus pit. But he's got like a 50-50 shot of coming out insane. So when he
We
does,
get to meet his daughter Talia. as
Talia,
well.
who has a romance with
that he
with the Bat.
engineers because
he needs an heir.
Yeah, and he thinks Batman is like the next successor. He
Yep.
wanted
His
actually
only
Batman to be
equal.
his
Yeah.
equal. Yeah.
His equal. That was all the tests, is to make him his equal
Yeah.
and all that. And he goes through it, and it's pretty incredible. Go on, man.
Well,
This
in
is
this,
yours.
he goes undercover as Matches Malone to track down
Yes.
the demon.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember all the matches, unfortunately.
No, it's there's oh my gosh, he's trying to find all these people. He follows through pretty well because it's basically tests. It's putting him through all the tests to see if he could be the new leader of the league and marry his daughter and all that. And they do a later follow up. That was Son of the Demon, right? Is when
And
they
they did
follow up.
they did similar to that also in the Arrow TV show.
Oh, okay.
They kind of did that too. Where
Was that Merlin?
yeah, Merlin.
Great John Barrowman. Can't go wrong with that.
He's
so.
awesome.
Yeah, they crib a few notes from some of these stories, but they're all classics. And but the beauty of that one was, gosh, what was it? I just went off on a tangent in my head. I was thinking of the show Powerless. There was they did an episode where they were writing an episode about Ra's al Ghul that never got aired, but it was going to be the League of Assassins was going to be plugging the. If you ever get a chance, Powerless. It wasn't a great show. It only lasted a few episodes, but it was about an insurance security firm that worked for Wayne Tech. And they were building devices to help you survive in a superpowered world. And they were the little guys in DC. So they had villains and stuff going around, and superheroes are going around. They work for Wayne Tech, so they find a
Oh, I
batarang
remember that.
in one episode.
Yes.
And at one point, the lead girl is dating a goon. and a henchman.
What's her name? She was in High School Musical, I believe. she was in
Vanessa
it.
Hutchinson?
Yes.
That's the only person I know.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
right.
You nailed it. She's
Sweet.
dating this guy, and everybody's telling her, "You're dating a goon. You're dating a henchman." She's like, "No, he's not a henchman. He's this." She's like, "No, it's okay. Everybody henches on the side. It's a side gig out here. It's a great, you can do this." And
perfectly
and she's like,
acceptable. I
"No,
approve.
his boss is taking us out for the weekend. We're going to this volcano with death traps." And oh my God, he's a henchman. Yeah, and it's so well done. And of course they break, and it's all a ploy. They're not going on a trip. It's all a ploy. She's going to break up with him.
What's his name from Firefly's in it too?
Yeah, Nathan Fillion. No, Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk's
Alan.
the boss. He's Bruce Wayne's
Cousin, or
which is
something.
actually in the comics.
Yeah.
Anyway, the villains, the henchmen show up, and they're like, "So are we supposed to, to rob Wayne Tech of these devices?" And they're like, "So are we supposed to kill him, or are we supposed to save him?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "Well, he sent me a riddle, and it's about something." And he's like, "What is wet?" That and
is wet?
and it's like, "Oh, it's the river. Oh, he wants us to drown him in the river. Okay, yeah. Why can't he just say And it's one of those great bits."
Then the last thing we have is from the animated series, Almost Got Him, one of the best episodes they did.
Well, the animated series is the best.
The
Is
Batman
the best.
animated
And
series.
this is definitely one of the best episodes. They
Yes.
based a card game on this
Yeah.
recently.
So yeah, they're all sitting around playing poker,
Hiding from Batman.
of course, talking about Mad Hatter just got caught by you-know-who, because they never mention his name, actually.
Yeah, they
They
never.
just say you-know-who or him or something. And what?
Each one of
Ivy
them.
comes in, and
Yeah.
they start talking. She's like,
She's
"Oh,
like,
I almost had
just got him. Almost had him tonight. Hers was with the giant pumpkins and
the
toxic
poison
gas.
pumpkin,
Yeah.
toxic gas." Then you come back, and Penguin talks about how he almost had him.
With a condor or some
Yeah,
some
he
bird related
sprayed
thing.
some bird turn on stuff, whatever you call it.
Pheromones.
Pheromones, yeah. I can't
That's
think
the
right
technical
now.
term, ladies and gentlemen.
Technical term.
Oh, I'm done. You lost me.
Yeah.
Then the
That's
birds
amazing.
attack him. Then he hits
Yeah.
a batarang, washes himself, and then
Yeah,
another
of
giant
course.
bird
Always
comes
gets
after
away
him.
at the last second. So that's what they're all talking about.
Yeah, then
Always-
Two-Face starts talking about how he almost had him, and Penguin goes, or it wasn't Penguin. Someone said Penguin, I think, he's a robot.
Oh yeah. They're all convinced he's different things.
Yeah.
He's a demon. He's a robot.
Yeah, some people,
Or
like
there's
Two-Face doubts
multiple
his...
of him.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
he's one person, and
Yeah,
Penguin... Well, no, Penguin, according to our notes, because I've never heard of this, so I was like
Oh, we're
reading.
gonna have to watch this one.
So Croc assumes that he's a robot.
Yeah.
Two-Face assumes that he's two people, which makes sense
Yep,
because
'cause
he's
he could
split
be-
personality.
Yep.
Penguin correctly theorizes that he suffered from a crime-related trauma in the past.
Yes.
Which is
Penguin's smart.
interesting.
Then
this
they say
one,
his face was. Penguin goes, "Oh, I think his face is scarred."
That's why he wears the mask. Yeah, exactly.
Like a Phantom of the
They all
Opera.
get a little wrong. And then
But Killer Croc is the best.
Killer Croc is like his
story-
almost got him story is
yeah.
the best story ever.
I threw a rock at him.
Threw a big.
Threw a
and then
rock at
they're
him.
like, really? That's it? And he's like,
It's a big rock.
it was a big rock. Yeah. And then finally Joker comes in, and he's like,
Has him in an electric chair.
he's like, I got him. I've still got him. And they're like, what? And he's like, time to electric chair. He's captured. He's done. And we've got his girl. We got Catwoman, and she's in a warehouse, and she's gonna get killed too. Harley's got her. And then Killer Croc jumps up, and it's Batman in disguise. He's been secret. A spoiler. Sorry. And he wanted to find out where Catwoman was.
ruined for me.
So it's only been 20 years. I'm sorry. I'm allowed to spoil it from 20 years ago.
I'm just thinking how he was like, out of all the villains, yeah, it's gonna be Killer Croc because he's just like a giant alligator. I could
Yeah.
pull that crap off.
I can
Yeah,
pull that
for
off.
sure.
And he just talk.
I just have
hit
an
him with a
alligator
rock.
suit. Yeah.
Total Batman in disguise.
Yeah.
And so he runs and tries to find him, and he rescues Catwoman at the last minute. And then Catwoman's about to kiss him at the end, and then he jumps away, and she's like,
Per usual.
and of course her line is, "Almost got him."
Almost got him.
So
Yeah.
that's her almost got him story. So.
Then you said there was another one that you like. We don't have the
Yeah, we don't
photos
think
for this one. though.
Trial is amazing, and that's actually my daughter's favorite, who was supposed to be here tonight. I haven't seen her all night, so although I heard that we had some Is that some goons trying to break in the door over there? I don't know. So, but anyway, was Rob, are you okay over there? Are those?
I haven't heard Rob. I don't know if he's back there.
Just play it cool, gang.
I mean, my associate and I are just making sure that the show ends correctly and on time.
Okay, so are you dating a goon now?
I play all teams.
Okay. But anyway, trial is Batman gets, they kidnap a lawyer and take her to Arkham, and Batman gets into Arkham, and it's basically Arkham Asylum. They've trapped him in there, but instead of torturing him, they put him on trial. They're like, we're only villains because of you. We wouldn't exist without you. We'd be normal people. And they all have their story.
Are you a normal person?
Yeah.
Give or take.
So, ladies and gentlemen, my daughter Beth has been our cosplayer of the day in Disposed here. She was, I think there was a scarecrow earlier. You used to do a scarecrow cosplay.
She was my scarecrow, and now she's the...
Oh, that explains so much.
We're both Elizabeth, so I mean, Elizabeth was always here.
So,
technically.
What is your Insta if anybody wants to follow it? It's that one fangirl?
I believe it's that other fangirl.
That other fangirl. With the O being a 0.
We'll link it in the comments and all that fun stuff.
So she does some fun cosplays as well. And looking forward to get back at into the convention scene when it gets a little safer. So
Michael, want to wrap us up with our...
So again, you can email us at home@comicbook101tv.com, info@comicbook101tv.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, comic101tv.com. Find Mark at Erie, Florida.
That's Elizabeth there too, although she's starting her own brand soon, so we'll see how that goes. But you'll also be able to see us soon on Erie Travels, which we'll be filming right here on this Bat station, same bat time. Next week, we're done with the Bat for a little bit.
Yes.
We're going to move on to something new.
Maybe.
We might go, since the big event going on, Moon Knight.
We'll see y'all next week.